All right, good morning, everyone. Time to get started. So today we're going to move on to chapter 4, which will give you the much needed information as to how to solve the test course assignment. And in fact, we might do this together. You still need to finish your own individual assignment, but I think we might share a solution as well. So we're going to talk about two types of structures, decision making and then iteration or loops. There is more than one way you can decide or create loops in JavaScript. I'm going to show you one of each. I'm going to show you the if for decision making and the while and do while loop today, hopefully if we have time. And then on Monday, we're going to continue with chapter 4, and I'll show you a couple alternative ways, the switch and the for loop. So that's the plan. And let's get started with, I have a question. Who in the class has taken a philosophy logic class before? Raise your hand. All right, so I'm going to count on you to help. And this might seem like starting afar, but
it was like 3 years ago. So.
But I'm going to start the class by showing you 2 years ago. Let me find my pointer though. So we're going to start by reviewing something called the logical truth table. Does this ring a bell, logic students? So you need to know a little bit of logic so that you can succeed with decisions and loops as they are implemented in programming. So what you need to know is that if you have A and B, so two statements, one is A, one is B, and they have a value. So we learned about the Boolean type, which can only have one of two values, true and false. So there are some rules that govern how this works in logic. So for example, if you have A statement be false and B statement be false, then A and, so this is a logical AND. A and B is also going to be false. In other words, for a statement to be true with the AND, they both have to be true. Otherwise, it's false. Again, if you have one false and one true, that's going to result in false. And again, a true and a false results in false. So the only case when an AND ends up being true is if they both true. On the other hand, the logical OR, and I'll show you how they're represented in JavaScript, is true if either one or the other or both are true. So we have a different solution here. False and false is the only one that's false. And then false and true, true and false, and true and true all equal true. In logic, we also use the not operator, which essentially reverses the value. So that's what it does. It's just if it's true, it's going to switch it to false and the other way around. So that if you have a false and false, this results in false, but we switch it. And then, I'm sorry, this is a different example. Let's just take A. So if A is false and we say not A, is going to make it true, and so on. A false will be switched to true and a true to false. So this is a logic truth table, and the same rules apply in JavaScript, except we're going to replace the and, or, and not the words with the symbols that we use in the JavaScript syntax. Okay? Is this all good so far? So far, so good? So normally when we have used written programs in JavaScript so far, the execution is, or the interpreting, if you will, sequential line by line, right? So first is going to execute the first line, you see it's the second and third and so on, unless we have a function that changes things a little bit, but generally it's sequential. But sometimes we don't want to take the same sequence depending on some factor, and that's what we call, we need to make a decision. So for example, we have, let's say we have a quiz, and then we need to inform the user did they pass or not. So if their score is less than 50, they didn't pass. So it's a flow chart here with the N, and then we're going to give one message, try again. If their score is greater than 50, then you passed, right? So we can't handle that in the same way. We have to handle it in two different branches. And we already know how to do this. We use the if statement. We have used it before. What did we do with the if statement? The good afternoon. So we were giving different greetings based on the time of the day. So it's, for example, here, if the score is greater than 50, now we're moving from the concept to the JavaScript syntax. If the score is greater than 50, then we're going to document write you passed. Else, we're going to write try again. So it's a nice little story. It was my birthday yesterday, and one student posted on my timeline a little if then else statement. If today is January 24th, happy birthday, Stani, else, hi, Stani. So I thought it was very cute and timely. But this is the idea. So we have different conditions, and based on the condition, we execute different code paths. So the block of code is usually going to be within the curly braces, and we can have two, or we can actually have multiple branches as well. And so after we have executed one of these, what happens? We just continue on with the script. If, depending on which condition is true, only one or the other branch will be executed. Just want to make sure this is clear. So if it was no, then the if statement will not go into the yes, and it will not execute the block of code associated with the yes. Does this make sense? All right. So to work with if and else statements, we often need to do, pretty much always we need to do comparison. And the comparison is going to be whether it's a simple or more complex expression. It always boils down to one question: is it true or false? So it's going to reduce to a true or false enter. So for example, is 5 equal to 7? False. It can only be true or false. In this case, it's false. So we use the double equal to express is equal in JavaScript, because we use the single equal for assignments, as you know. Sometimes it helps us to check what if something is not equal. So for example, if an entry is not equal to 999, I'm going to continue prompting the user. But if it's 999, then something else needs to happen, right? And the first double equal here is going to check the values of the variables. In other words, if you have 5 written as a string and a 5 written as a number, if the values are the same, JavaScript will say, yes, those are equal. And there are some rules that go with it. But sometimes you want to check not only the value, but also if the data type is the same. And in fact, it is recommended to use the strict equal in JavaScript instead of the double equal. So again, strict equal is going to check both the value and the data type. So if it's a string and an integer or a number with a value of 5, is equal with double equal returns true, whereas strict equal will return false, because string is not the same as a number. Josh?
Would the reason that we have the double equals, for instance, if you're checking to find a specific character in a string, is that why they have it like that?
Well, I actually use double equal, but even though it's recommended to use the strict version, they can accomplish the same. This is just more strict. So you can do the same comparisons for both, in both cases, but you're just helping yourself out by checking the data types as well, because there can be problems if the data types don't match, right? But you can use either or. And then we also have a strict not equal. So the exclamation mark is how we write not, the logical not in JavaScript and in other languages. We can do greater than, less than, or the greater than or equal to. So it depends. This is a logical question again. Do we want to include the end condition or not? Remember when we did our first example with the good afternoon, we set if it's less than noon, I believe, and so it was not picking up because it was 12:20 or something like that. So we changed it to less than or equal to noon or to 12, and then it worked. So it's a matter whether you want to include the number or not. Right. So the student who passed has to have a score greater than 50. I would not use the greater than or equal because I want it to be greater than. So 50 will not meet the logical criteria. And then less than. Okay. So the way we represent the logical end in JavaScript is with this double ampersand right here. So what this means now is if the score is greater than 75 and less than 95, that's a very good score. So it allows us to create more complex expressions here. And the way it would work is it would evaluate again depending on the score. So we have a score variable that we're passing in. Is this true or false in itself? And is this true or false? And if they're both true, it prints up. So we have a double ampersand, and this is a shortcut end operator. And does anyone know what it means? So for example, if the score is, let's see, so this is score greater than 75. If the score is 65, would this be true or false? False. And if this is an end and this is false, do we need to bother checking here? No. So this is what the shortcut would do. It. Once it knows for the logical end that this is false, it means everything is false, and we just move on without spending time to check the other side. So that's the logical end, and this is the logical OR. So this symbol is over above your enter key on the keyboard, in case you wonder. And there's the logical NOT. So with the logical OR, if we have a shortcut, we do have a shortcut version of it. What condition do you think might we be checking for a logical OR? Can you think? Imagine that this was a OR.
Like in the online assignment 3 and 4, you want to make sure that the number is between 1 and 100. Yeah. So I said if the score is less than or equal to 0 or greater than 100.
Right. Okay. Right. That's a good example. What I was pointing out in addition to what you said is that if the score is 85, is this true or false? And if we have a logical OR and we know that one side is true, do we need to know anything else? We don't need to know anything else because with logical OR, as long as one is true, then the entire expression is true. Okay. So I'm going to switch. I'm going to skip over the switch statement, and we'll come back on Monday. This is another structure you can use for decisions, but we'll come back to it. So don't worry about it. And now let's talk about loops. So in addition to making decisions, it's pretty helpful to be able to repeat the same functionality multiple times. And for this, we use loops. This is the for loop, so I'm going to skip over it as well, and we'll come back on Monday. So there are more than one ways to do the same thing. I don't know if this helps you, but how would you visualize a loop? So you can use a flowchart to visualize an if then else statement, but with a loop, if this helps you, you can think about it. You start one time. So the loop has to have a condition, again, that evaluates true or false, and you perform the task as many times as long as this condition is true. Once it's no longer true, you get out of the loop. So in this case, we're saying that the value has to be less than 3 of I, and so we're going to repeat as long as I is less than 3. And once it's less than 3, then we're going to exit. So here's a little animation. It's no longer less than 3, and then we end the loop, and the control returns to the next statement in the program. All right, so this is the lecture notes, and now let's do some examples. Unless you have any questions, I should ask. Any questions on what we covered so far? So brackets. Start a new project, please. First of all, set up your file. So what is your project file? My project file will be 125.17. At some point, we need to look into Git and using Git. So this may be one of our, maybe you can, being the Git enthusiast that you are, can present. So set to the folder. And the first example will be an if statement. So file, new file, save as if-else.html. All right, the usual. So this will be if else example. So this will be IT programs. I want to ask the user what IT program they participate in, and based on their response, use an if or else to give them a message, a more customized message. All right, so let's just add the script here. So let's get user input. What function do we need to use to get user input? Prompt. In which IT program are you enrolled? And now I'm going to use one of the string methods that we learned last time to lowercase. And why am I doing this? What might be the use of doing this?
For your conditional.
Okay. What about it?
So it matches, so we don't have to put a bunch of conditional statements.
That's exactly right. I don't know if my user will enter uppercase or lowercase, and by using two lowercase, actually that's not what I wanted to use. I just want two lowercase. Then I'm going to just have to take one case lowercase. So that's why we're using this.
If you, in your conditional, instead of using the strict equality, use the non-strict, could that be used if the user input lowercase or uppercase?
Well, no, because those are different.
That's right.
The characters have a different integer value on the back end, so I don't think this would work. Okay, and now let's create 12 different output based on the conditions. So if the program is equal to web design, I'm going to write, you must be good at CSS. So we looked on the slides, which I showed you the if and the else statement, but you can also have more than just two. And the words in Java, the syntax in Java is there is a else, if, that allows you to have more than two branches. So you can have an if, you have optional else and if, however many you need, and then you can have an else at the end to catch anything else. Are you raising your hand?
Yeah. Does an if-else statement have to end with an else?
It doesn't have to, so it's an optional, but it's nice to have because it can catch anything else that hasn't been accounted for in the presence. So you can just have an if statement. So then the else if, the next we're going to check for will be if program is equal to web development. Document write, you must be good at JavaScript and PHP. Else if you must be good at Java. And we have other programs, but this illustrates the point here. And then we're going to say else. So the else doesn't check for a condition. That's the difference here. The else is going to handle anything else. If the user enters anything else besides those conditions above, it's going to go to the else statement. And therefore, we're going to say, I don't know this program. So let's try this out. Okay, let's test out my program, and then you can test your own. So in which IT program are you enrolled? I don't know, how about web development? And I'm going to make it with uppercase. And so you must be good at JavaScript and PHP. And if we enter something else, we expect, if I enter databases, what do I expect to see? I don't know the program because we didn't code it up. You can add it, in fact, if you like, but we didn't put it up here. So that's what we want our program to do. And normally, if you have multiple decisions, you want to test each possible path, not just one, but test all of them. So I only tested a couple. You should test all of them. So I'm going to just give you a few minutes to make sure that your program is working as well.
Yeah.
Are we ready for another example? Not yet? All right. Would you like to look at anything, or Aaron?
I'm not doing the build out. Build out all those photos. I know, that was like, these are too much. Oh my god, okay.
I semi do the build method. I do it by week. So like this, like I'll do like so ITC 240 week 1, and then all the files for week 1, week 2, all the files for week 2. Because in the end, it's like that way I can be like, oh, it's like the third week, I can
That's a
find
good
it.
idea. Yeah.
But doing them all in one, they just get mixed, and I'm like, crap, when did I do that? Like, it was at the end of the quarter, but they're all mixed up.
Yeah.
If you do it every single day, I feel like it's just a lot.
It's,
Folders
I
to
think
dig
it's
through.
there's too many like, especially when you're learning, you know.
We have
Some
GitHub,
people just couldn't get
so I would keep track of all of that.
whole file structure things. And it's like, you know, like, why do you have like 40 gazillion files? Because you can't find anything, and then when you try to type in the URL, like all these subfolders that you have to put into a URL.
And in my Python class, we're using Cloud9 for Python guard.
Yeah.
Would be something that does JavaScript. Does GitHub kind of do JavaScript?
No, so like that's like an artificial environment. GitHub is more of like it keeps track of every version you've done. So like every time, like imagine if every time you type something and click save, it categorized it, it archived it, and then like a couple days from now you can be like, crap, oh, I did the code and I deleted it. You can go back and grab
You
that
always
version.
want to fix the first error you see because it might then fix the subsequent. It's always got the first one.
So it's kind of more of like as you're working on a project, you should just save it a lot, because then what happens is it saves like a complete snapshot of your project at every step. So that later when you're like, oh, I was on the right track before, you can go back and say, I want to revert back to this time.
Yeah.
And it'll go, okay, and then GitHub takes, and it goes into your computer and it rips out your code, puts in the code from that time and says, now you're set.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm going to go on with the next
But
example
code
with the while loop.
is one where you can do JavaScript, CSS, and HTML on an online environment.
Okay.
All right,
Code
if you
can,
still
like, or
get,
JS Fiddle.
Okay.
if it's still not working for you, just give me your attention and then we can look at the code later with Aaron. We should hopefully have some time. All right, so this was the if then else example. Now let's do a while loop example. So this is one way we accomplish repeating a task in JavaScript. So name this example while-loop.html. Right, so we're going to have a paragraph with the ID of info. And we're going to use the other way of displaying on the page. And then the script. Okay, so the message is set to an empty string. These examples are not from the book. I think I posted links to them. So when we work with the loop, we need to set a counter, and it's common that the variable name is I or J or just a single letter, I, J, K, and we initialize it to 0. And then the while is the keyword, so while. So the condition we're going to check for is while the counter I is less than 7, we're going to add on to the message loop counter is plus I plus a break. So we start with I equals to 0. And is it true that 0 is less than 7? This is a true statement. So therefore, if this statement is true, then we want to go inside the while loop and then execute the line. So at this point, it's going to print out the loop counter is 0. But then we need to have a way to move our counter forward or backward. You can increase or decrease the counter. And so you have to add a statement inside the while loop that changes the value of I. Otherwise, you'd create something called an infinite loop, and you don't want to have that. So by saying I++, this is a statement that means add 1 to I. It's the same as saying I is equal to I plus 1. But it's a more compact syntax, so it's more common to say I++. You can also say I minus minus if you wanted to reduce the value, but in this case, you want to increase it. And so every time it goes in, it's going to add 1 to I, and when it reaches 7, it's going to drop out of the loop. So that's our loop, but what we need to also do now is output to the page. So let's create a variable element. Info. I'm using HTML tags in my message. So who remembers what property do I need to use to print to the page? We need to use inner HTML. Not period, but rather semicolon. Okay, so let's try this out. And this is what the result would look like. We said less than 7, so therefore it did not include 7. Any questions? If you got this work, yes, go ahead, please.
If you wanted to skip by counter, did want to increment by 1, wanted it by 2 or 3.
You can certainly do that. You just need to move it forward. So you'd say I is equal to
Okay.
I plus
There's
2.
no shorthand for that. It's just
No, the only one is the plus plus. The other thing I wanted to show you was if I wanted to include 7 in the loop, then I would say I is less than or equal to 7. And if we run the program again, so take a look up here. So I have said I is less than or equal to 7, and now it included 7. We don't have to start at 0. We can start at 3. You can start at any number is the point. Let's see. Okay. So the key is that the key with the while loop is that if this condition was not true, we would not ever go inside the loop. So if I started with I equal to 10, and try this out, then nothing happens because we never go inside the loop. So it's going to skip over and our script doesn't do anything else. So that's it. So this is the while loop. There is a variation on the while loop called the do while loop, which you use. In some cases, you actually always want to go in once. So for example, if you're prompting the user for login information, you always want to prompt them at least once. And it's better, the do while loop is better suited for this purpose. So if we finish with this example, before the break, what time is it? I would like to show you the do while example as well. And then we'll take a break. All right, so start the new file, please. This would be do-while.html. So this is a do while loop. So let's see in practice what does the do while loop do. So we're going to do exactly this example with the login. We're going to have a variable username. Starts with being assigned an empty string. And then add a comment here. The do while loop executes at least once, even if the condition is not true. So the syntax for the do while loop is a little different, and it looks like this. You say do, so this is a keyword, and then the block of code is going to include the statements that always are going to execute. And then after the closing parenthesis is where you say while, and that's where you put your condition. So we're going to continue doing this as long as the username is equal to an empty string. All right, inside the do loop, we're going to say username, which is our variable, is equal to a prompt. Enter username. And again, in this case, just to be different, we're going to convert it to uppercase. In other words, we used the two lowercase in the previous example, so let's use the two uppercase. And now we're going to illustrate something else. You can do what we call nesting conditions and loops inside each other. So I'm going to nest an if statement inside the while loop. And this looks the following. Inside the while loop, I'm going to have an if statement that checks if username is equal to Sunny, or you can put your own name, or username is equal to Aaron. So you can change the names if you like, but or you can use these names documents, right? Username a space, you are an admin. Else if the username does not equal an empty string, welcome user username. So let's test this out. Trying to move, but it won't let me. All right, so let's try Aaron. But I'm going to put it with a lowercase. So welcome.
Oh, my name is on the or statement is lowercase. It should be alpha, right?
Well, I'm converting it to upper.
Oh, that's right.
So
Oh no, but it would need to compare, wouldn't it? So my name should be in all uppercase. So that
oh yes, that's what it is. Thank you. Like my name. Yeah. Okay. Try this again. Okay, so enter the username. So I'm going to write Aaron. And Aaron, you're an admin.
But you weren't just putting in uppercase since you said that it was uppercase.
Yes, that's why the program didn't work, because since I converted it to an uppercase, when I'm comparing here, this needs to be uppercase as well. Or you can convert it to lowercase, and then you need to also change the case for these two names. And let's test out if we put a different name. Let's say Jim. Welcome user Jim, right? Because Jim is not one of the admins. So get this working. It's a short program, but it does have a couple of things going on. So make sure that you understand, or if not, ask questions, and then we'll take our break. Yes. In here? Yeah. You could do more than a couple. Okay, if there are no questions, let's take our first break, and I'll see you in 10 minutes, and then we're going to look at those average test scores.
you mind looking at what I had?
Yeah.
When you're done with
I just realized why it's like, why isn't mine working? It's wrong.
because I almost sent you a message on Canvas with the code, but I didn't know if that was okay to do that.
Well, it's one of those things where if I have time, I'll get to it, but if I don't, then I
Yeah.
won't.
And so I didn't know if I submitted the assignment, like part of it's working, but not all of it. And if I put put it into a Google Doc, the link and then the code. Right, especially when there's the JavaScript file, because you can't see that, right?
Yeah, I can see the file.
You can see the JavaScript file too?
Yeah.
Okay.
In PHP, we can't. Let's see. There we go. Yay. Okay.
Yay. So this is the assignment that's due tonight. So I was doing books,
Mhm.
and then this is what I'm getting is this undefined, and then not a number. So I basically took the object constructor HTML and modified it.
Mhm.
I thought, well, that works. So I set it up like this,
It really was.
and then I went into object constructor assignment 2, and then I went through and I again took that same code that worked and then evolved it.
Yeah.
So that's when, like, why is it throwing this undefined and then not a number? Because I figured I would do like something similar, like how she had like what was available for the hotel. I figured what was available for the books.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Like if I turn it like this, I won't get full credit because it has to work the whole way.
Yeah. So, object literal equals.
Well, actually, I'm wondering if because I don't have a location, I have availability. Well, this would be copies maybe instead.
This.
So I did the author and then the title. And I had thought maybe initially doing the publication year. I don't know if that would be better, but then that doesn't really do the check availability.
Yeah. Well, also, you have on your function, you're entering an author, a title, and then a publication.
Because I was initially going to do publication date.
Uh-huh.
So should I just create that since I'm not using that?
Well, the thing is, like, then when you're creating it, you're doing new book, and you're doing, it should be author, title, and then publication, right? Should be in the same order. Oh, no. So keep that as book.
And I just put in the date.
So what you want to do is like as you do so you put your book back there, but you want to follow your instances that you did above in the same order.
Okay.
So like you'd want to list your author, then you want to list your title, you want to list your publication.
Okay. So should I put
Which
the author into here?
So like each book is going to have an author, title, and publication. And then you're going to want,
Just make a here.
yeah.
So it's all right. Well, 'cause it's, I got it to a certain point.
And what you're going to need, so like as of right now, like each quotation is a parameter. So right now you have two parameters. You have that and you have that is the author, which is quote the author's name, comma, end quote, comma, and then quote the name of the book or the title. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So the comma instead.
And yeah, commas in between them. So this one, the Rice book, that one is correct. you're probably gonna get if you call on the function. Let's see. Where is it? Call it function. One thing is interesting. So the
Should I call this book one?
Yeah.
Does it matter if it's upper or lowercase?
I think you're gonna call it book 1, book 2, and book 3.
And should I do uppercase?
Let's see. And
Where is it? So it's doing, it's like,
is it doing it? There's a button over here that
I
does
must
that.
have hit.
Is it insert? There you go.
Should I make this lowercase?
So let's see. So let's think it out first. So we've created the function which creates, and then we're saying, okay, let's create this, this, and this, and this should be So now this Barry is going to be associated with author. This is going to be associated with title. This is going to be associated with publication, and then we'll ignore that for right now. So you've created 3 instances of it right there.
Should I get rid of this part though?
No.
Okay.
And then so now, wait. Okay, I was wrong. Get rid of the numbers there. Because what we're doing is we're saying new book, which is a function. We're calling on it, and we're going to create that. So these are the 3 different names of the instances that you've created. So then you're going to say, oh, I want to update my HTML with it. You'll say details1 equals Barry book, which is the same, dot name, which is true. You want the name of it. Wait. So dot name should be one of these. So dot title would be the correct one.
Should I do the author first, or should I do it in the same order?
So what do you want to do in details 1? If you want to tell the author's name, you put author. If you want to do title or publication, those are your 3 options. Yes, the author.
And then say here.
Yeah.
Should I always say author?
Mm-hmm. You'll say Brown book, the author of Barry book, the author of Rice book. And then plus, you got the word violin. And let's get it to print it first, and then we're going to say, so let's see, bar details 1, check availability. Wait, then the plus equals Barry book dot check availability. Which that, as of right now, won't work because you're not doing any math.
Okay, and that's why I was looking, that's partly why I have the other numbers there.
Yeah.
Should I change this to
But what's
copy?
interesting is if you put numbers there, then well, let's first get your author to print because then you know that works. So I would so we have this, or even then, like we could. There's nothing wrong with printing this much information and then just adding another parameter with like adding 2 more that had numbers after the fact. So let's see. That room details 1, check availability, and then this one we're gonna say details 1. So L book 1, document.mov, book 1, details 1. So let's run it and see if we can. So save and run and see if we get the author's name. Yay.
Yay, okay.
So we have that all going through.
But then another number, but that's because you said
It's because there's no
there's
numbers.
no numbers to
So what's interesting is if you want, so go create another enter, go to make line 7 empty. Go to line 6. Go up 1. So we can say this dot quantity, and then say equals, and then say 10. So we have 10. We have a quantity of 10, and then you can say this dot sold equals 5. So now when you say, you can say this dot quantity minus this dot sold. Yeah. And that's like,
Oh, yeah, hooray. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome, thank you.
and so now you can just, you can see how you can make, go back. So I'll show you one thing that you don't want. You don't want this hard coded there. So what you want to do is just put, like, I believe you just want to put a 0. And then what you'll want to do is add those two numbers onto this. So you'd say publication 2007, comma, you have how many did you bought? 5, and then how many did you sell? 6. Or,
Comma,
and so you don't even need that word, publication.
for do or
You don't, because it's the third parameter. So then you do comma and then do 2 more numbers, and the first number you put would be your quantity. The second number would be how many you've sold.
Is there a space in between the numbers?
You don't need a space, just a comma.
If I do that on all of them then.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
and then I think up here on these two, you want that to be.
Okay, so let's see what progress, if any, were you able to make with the online assignment? And now do you feel that you have the missing piece to complete? What was the missing piece that we needed to have? We needed to do while. All right, so just to remind you, hopefully you're all very familiar with it, but we want to write a program to calculate the average of test scores averaged by the user. It only accepts valid numbers between 0 and 100, and 999 is once the user enters 999 exits, the program exits. Okay, so we have some screenshots. For example, 75 is valid, 105 is not. So it's going to not accept 105. It will present the alert. 90 is fine. And then 999 will cause the loop to end and the calculation will take place. Did anyone finish this? Are you not expecting? I'm just curious. Did you finish it? A couple of you? Do you want to show your solution or do you want me to show mine?
Sure.
That'd be great. Why don't you, can you access it from here or?
Yeah, it's on that website.
Okay, perfect.
So here, just say quantity and then say sold. Yeah. No, wait, no,
And then maybe I'll give you a last time to.
So
So here's a demo of the test scores.
Sure.
you want me to show the source?
Yes, I think it's fine.
Review the source.
You can just zoom in a bit, Control plus, or just increase the browser size.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. In fact, could you copy it and put it in brackets so we have some color coded
Yeah.
annotations there? And here's one you can don't worry about this.
Okay, I'm just gonna put it in this because this is already HTML.
Can we see the HTML? So basically there is nothing there. Okay.
Yeah. It all just it pops up in an alert box
All right.
and then has the prompt box.
So can you walk us line by line and explain?
Yeah. So I created a variable for a counter, which I named times entered, set it to 0. I created a variable for the sum of all the numbers entered and set that to 0. I call it total scores. Then I started the do loop here and created a variable called ask score, which prompts the user to enter a number and parses an integer from it. So if the number that they entered, ask score, is greater than 0 and is less than 101, what happens is the total score, which is the sum, gets added to the number that they entered, and the counter is increased by 1. I could have done that times plus plus here. Else if the number that they entered is less than or equal to 0 or is greater than 100 and is not equal to 999, because that ends the entries, it pops up with an alert that says entry must be a valid number from 1 to 100. Then the loop ends and the condition while is, well, the number that they entered is not equal to 999, so that will break the loop. And then originally I was going to print it to the page. I can get rid of these, but I just have it pop up in an alert box that says the average score is the total scores, which is the sum of all the numbers they entered, divided by times entered, which is our counter variable.
Great, that's a really nice solution.
Yeah, thanks.
Do you have any questions for Josh? Yeah, Josh? All right. Again, I would like to point out a couple of things here. So there was a question, can you have more complex compound statements? And he did a great job here combining logical or analogical and putting everything in parentheses. And also note that for the calculation, for the alert to use the total scores and times entered, they had to be declared outside of the while loop, because otherwise that would not work for a couple of different reasons. And one of them being the scope. Remember how we talk local scope versus global scope. Okay, well, I think I'm going to let you work, give you some lab time right now. So try to finish your own assignment. And if you have already finished it, let me figure out what to do, what to assign it to do. But most of you seem like would benefit from some time to try to get this working.
So here's this.
So this part?
Yeah, what the big thing is like
Let me see if I have another challenge.
theory, yes. Theory, yes. Publication 2007. Quantity.
Do you want me to give you something else, or would you like to have just lab time to work on it? Would you like an additional assignment, or are you good?
And then
with
you
your-
I could work on the homework.
So I maximum trust that this matches this. No, the HTML should be
Would you like me to
printing.
give you something, or would you like
Check
to-
availability. And then here you're saying check print that, which it worked. So what are we getting when this runs? It's saying that
It just says availability.
let's run it, let's refresh it, just to see if we change anything. The console, we have one bug. What is that? I don't know how to use this. Do you have Chrome?
And you can talk with your neighbor, and it's fine to collaborate to a certain extent. And I think I'll stop the recording at this point.
There you go. That's